I had to remove the store sound because they were playing the tune Copyright Strike. We often get things for freeze drying at this store. It's a restaurant supply store called Chef's Store. Today we were looking for some frozen vegetables, fruits, and maybe some cubed potatoes. I was looking for things that were pretty much prepped and ready to put on the freeze dryer trays, and these fit the bill perfectly. It's been defrosted. It's time to get it cooling for the next batch. I want to get this pre-chilling so that it'll be ready in a half hour to get the vegetables in there, which is coming up next. Oh, and I'll show the water. Okay, so closing the drain valve. Oops, move the thermometer back underneath. Okay, so thermometer in, door closed, and I only take the seal off when I'm cleaning it, so I need to take the rack out. Otherwise, I try to not take the seal off. I have a spare one in case this one breaks down. I know that this has issues already, but so I don't want to damage it. Okay, so you can see a little bit more than 3/4 of a gallon water out of that batch of chicken. So a little bit more than 6 pounds of water from 10 pounds of chicken. All right, so customize, start custom, close drain valve, did it, and continue. And I have mine preset for 7 hours. And again, I'll bypass it once it gets down to -40. If the seal doesn't look perfect around the front of the door, I like to use a little palette knife and stick it between the machine and the seal and just give it a little bit of a twist. And that pushes out the seal just enough to make a nice ring seal around the door. And this is certainly not really necessary, but it's something I end up doing. All right. That's sealed and cooling. So next on our list is vegetables. I'm going to do 10 pounds of mixed vegetables next. So we'll get that out, get the scale out, and get that set up. And so batch 502 or 2 for this series, and we have the start date 4/26/22, batch number 502 or 2 of this series, and 11:30 a.m. is when I started the freeze dryer for pre-chilling, and it's been just over a half hour. It's been 37 minutes now, and the freeze dryer is down to 17 degrees, so it's time to get the vegetables on the tray. So also going to need some parchment papers. So I need 4 of those. You can use parchment in your trays, you can put nothing in your trays, and they even sell silicone mats that you can put in your trays. So I have 1 for each of the trays. Parchment papers are one of those things that's not a requirement. It's one of the things I do. It just makes the tray a little easier to clean up. But for vegetables, it really doesn't matter. They're not sticky or gooey or anything. So the trays are chilled, and I don't want them to warm up. I have this corrugated plastic sheets under it, help keep them nice and cool, keep them away from the tables. All right, so I've got the bag of mixed vegetables. Start getting them on the trays. So tray number 1. And same tare weight as before, should be. So 755. Okay. So for this series, most of them should be the same weight each time. Because I'm planning on doing 10 pounds each time. So I need a weight of 1889 on this one. And that's chilling. And I don't often wear gloves, but when things are really cold or sticky or anything, then I tend to. Going for 1889. Okay, tray 1, loaded. Oh, piece of corn. And I'm just gonna push them down just a little bit. So I'm pretty sure the instructions in Harvest Right mentions about trying to use all the trays with the same product at the same time, and that's actually pretty good advice. Sorry, I'm kind of sidetracked. Okay. Tray 2. If you put fast drying stuff on some trays and slow drying on other trays, it will confuse the software because it won't be driving off enough moisture. It won't be sublimating enough of it, and it will end up basically lying to you about how much it is, about how far along it is. So some of them will say that they're done. There just won't be building up enough pressure to keep it going. It'll say it's done and it'll be too early. Okay, so in this one I need 1880. And this should be the rest of this bag. Assuming there's 5 pounds. Oh, so these are actually slightly over. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of this on the one. And that's really the only reason I need to be weighing them. So 1909 on this one. Okay. So got our money's worth there. A couple of grams more than the 5 pounds. All right. And tray 3. And tare weight, 742. Okay. And we're looking for 1876 on that one.
Normally, I don't weigh things this carefully for most batches because I'm not really that worried about it.
Wow, that was good. 1876. Okay. So if you have rice on one tray, which freeze dries very easily, cooked rice, and you have blueberries on another tray. Let's say you have 3 trays of rice. They're going to freeze dry really easily. You have 1 tray of blueberries. They take a long time, or blueberries or pineapple take a long time. The problem is, oops, I forgot to write that down. 1876. So the problem comes in is that the sensors in the machine are looking for that pressure increase as the heat is applied and the water is sublimated. But if it doesn't, so when it stops sublimating and raising the pressure, it goes, okay, I'm done. But blueberries take a long time. They're very slow. So if you only have 1 tray of those and the other trays are something that works easily, it's going to assume that it's done early. Okay, tray 10, that's funny. Tray 4. Okay, this is 749, yep, 750. I'm going with 750. Okay, I need 1884 minimum on this one, so let's see what the rest of this bag holds. Whoa, one got away. Okay, so again, a couple grams extra. Well, that's good to see. So 1910. And for normal freeze drying, none of this is important. You do not need to weigh them or measure them. Just load them up with a good amount. At first it's kind of nice because then you can kind of judge how much you can put on there. You can see that's fairly full, but there's not going to be more than the 6 or 8 pounds of moisture that it can handle. So I don't have to worry about that. Okay, next. Turn that off. Put it away. Okay, now I'll get the thermometers out, and I don't have to drill any holes or anything on these. And thermometers in the food that are not inside the food, so it's just in loose stuff in the tray, isn't quite as good, but you use what you can do. And so I'll show that when we put them in the freeze dryer. Okay. So just trying to get them near the bottom but not touching the bottom. So kind of in the middle, the bottom third of it. But this will be one that will show differences later. Okay, those are in there. Let's go wheel this over to the freeze dryer and get them in. Okay, so again, it's down to 0. And it's been just over 50, it's been 56 minutes. Time to get them in there. Whoa. Okay. And starting at the top. Okay. And the thermometer's showing about 5 degrees right now. And these are, yeah, I need to get them in there. The top edges are starting to fry. This one's about 10 degrees. And underneath right now it's negative 20. All right. So I'll double check the drain valve. And it's closed. I'm going to use it like the straw and suck a little of the air out. Okay. Yeah, got a nice seal ring around the door now. And you can see the temperature is climbing up a little bit because we put 10 or 20 degree food into there, and so it'll take a little while. As soon as that's down to about 40 below, I'll get it started. Maybe even a little sooner because there's very little sugars and things in here, so they do very well. All right, anything else? So I can't think of anything else that needs to be said right now. We'll come back when the temperature is down to what it needs to be, and we'll get it started. Until then, I've got nothing more to do here. Okay, it's been freezing for just right at 4 hours now, and the power meter says it's used a little less than 1.2 kilowatt hours. It's currently using 271 watts. Okay, so it's been freezing for about 4 hours. It's down to negative 40, and the trays are cold. I'm going to see if we can see in those. That's the one underneath. It's about negative 40. Next one up, the tray. These are the ones that the machine says that it's about negative 40. Okay. All right, so well chilled, 10 pounds of mixed veggies. Okay, what other things? I'm just going through this. I'm gonna start the machine in just a second. So double checking the oil level, make sure it's correct, and it is. Okay, so now that it's below 40 below, now that it's more than 40 below zero, now I can go ahead and bypass the rest of the freeze time and get it to the main dry cycle. Okay, and I always like to just make sure so everything's good. Oh, I'll turn the cooling fan on for the vacuum pump, and everything's ready to go. So this is batch 2, the mixed vegetables. It's been just about 37 hours. I'm going to stop it, weigh them and check them, and then put them back in for a little bit of final dry, just to make sure that it's all the way dry. The problem is that it's 12:30 a.m. And I don't want to stay up for another hour or two. I should have checked it a couple hours ago, or 4 hours ago, because the thermometers were already dry. So what I'm going to do is I'll put them back in and let them sit overnight just with the freezer unit on, without the vacuum, and then I'll just rewarm it in the morning and weigh them. Or anyway, I'll give it 2 more hours. It'll stop and set overnight, and then I just have to rewarm them in the morning. Okay. It always seems like they get done at somewhere between midnight and 3 in the morning. So bypass the last bit of that. I'll open the drain valve. All right, and we'll get the weights. And this is where it'd be very useful if you were doing multiple batches of the same thing. You would know what weight to expect. All right, tray 1. They look great. 983. $1,006. $1,001. And 1,000 even. All right. And then I'll restart that and give it a couple more hours. And then in the morning I'll recheck it, because I'm not going to stay up a couple more hours. So yeah, and the seal's all the way around now. Then more dry time. And check the drain valve. And again, the pump's always cool. All right, so it's going to shut itself off again at 2:30 in the morning. It'll just set overnight, cold. In the morning, I'll rewarm it and check it. Yeah, I wish I'd have thought to check it 3 hours ago. Oh well. So this is exactly one of the reasons why I don't like to tell people how long it takes to freeze dry something, or how long did that batch take. Well, this batch finished in the middle of the night, and I knew it was going to. It was going to finish at whatever time I said earlier, at 1:30, at 2:30, I don't remember. Anyway, but if I use the time from the machine, it says that it is now 46.25 hours. Well, that doesn't reflect the true time, and it was probably finished earlier. I should have taken it out last night, but I didn't want to stay up that late. Anyway, so now it's really, really cold, more than 40 below in there. So I'm going to restart it so it'll warm back up, and then I'll take the trays out and we'll bag them. Okay, so more dry time, and I think the newer one says rewarm the trays or warm the trays. I could look at that. Yeah, according to the thermometer, it's -68 right now. The trays are cold, really cold, like frostbite cold. I have handled them before, and so be careful with the really cold trays. So I'll let those warm up, and as soon as the thermometers get up to temperature, then I'll be taking them out. Okay, it's been about 50 minutes. 30 might have been enough. But anyway, they're rewarmed. They're about 100 degrees on the trays now. So now I'll stop them and take them out. I do not like to take them out when they're ice cold because you'll have condensation on the trays. Not really on the food so much because they have so little mass, but you will get condensation, and of course that's putting water in it, and that's what we're trying to get rid of. So warming them up is a good plan. Right, so we'll take them out, and here, got to get the right buttons. Okay, going to open the drain valve. Okay, so 982. $9.83. So it's done. And they should have been done a while ago. I should have really taken them out last night. Yep, same. Yep. All right. Yeah, this is an example of waiting longer than necessary. So I'll correct that on the next time I do vegetables. Ooh, this one lost maybe half a gram, quarter of a gram. It's $9.99 instead of $1,000. All right, so I'm gonna wheel this over and we'll get the final weights without the thermometers. Defrost fan. Gonna get that going right away. So now, gonna go check the power usage. That's saying 47 hours, 5 minutes, but how much did it actually take when you consider that it was done last night? But I wasn't ready to bag it. So it's an example of it was in there, it was using some power because the refrigeration unit was still going. So anyway, 29.16 kilowatt hours. 29.16, I'll reset it. So it's 10:45 on April 28th. I've got the mixed vegetables out, and so we're gonna bag them, weigh them, then bag them, and then we'll move on to the next thing on the list, which is some fruit. Again, I'm using frozen bags of fruit. I'm trying to keep everything as quick and simple as possible. All right, so tray 1, get the thermometer out. So 972. Tray 2, 995. Tray 3, 991. Oh, yeah, it's really close. and 989. All right. Now, I don't know if I can, how much I can put in each bag, so I'll try one bag to, I'm hoping I can get a pound in each bag. So we'll find out. So I've got all the math done for this batch of mixed vegetables. So the bottom line is that it lost 3,637 grams of water and now weighs a total of 953 grams. So I'm going to try to put it in 1 pound bags, so 95.3 grams per bag. We'll see if that'll fit. And so that's close to a gallon of water. That's pretty much maxed out for what I would consider for this dryer. And that's about a pound more than the chicken was. So the vegetables had more water and took more time to freeze dry. Not surprising. Okay, so now on to the bagging. I don't know if I can get that much in there. We'll check it. So I haven't put the amount on here yet because I honestly don't remember how much can fit in one of these.
I'm using 1 quart 7mm Mylar bags for bagging the vegetables. The 1 quart bag is our favorite currently. We use some pint and some 2 quart also.
Okay, and I'll use this scoop also. And so sometimes we just measure it for volume. So I'm trying for 95.3 to see if that will fit. Oh. Okay, so again, 95.3 for the average. So I'm not going to be worried about getting every one of them exact, but trying to go pretty close. All right. So it's pretty full, but that will work. So I'm going to go with 1 pound for each bag. I'll go ahead and label these.
Now that I know that 1 pound will fit, I go ahead and label all the rest of the bags with 1 pound. I considered getting stickers and printing labels, but I'm too cheap to pay the extra cost for labels in comparison to the felt pen. We use mostly quart bags. When we first started freeze drying, we used mostly 2 quarts or gallon bags, and everything seemed great. Our goal was to get the least number of bags, so we'd have a whole freeze dryer full and only get 3 or 4 big bags. But then when we started using them, we found out that we'd have a lot of leftovers. The bags were big enough for 2 meals, 3 meals, or if we wanted some for lunch, well, then it was a ridiculous amount. It was set to ludicrous size. So anyway, we started to downsize our bags and use more 2 quarts and 1 quarts. And then after some trips, like to the coast with ham and things, we found that the 1 quart bags were even better for us, or even a pint bag. So now our number 1 bag we use is a quart bag, probably followed by pint bags, and then third place is 2 quart bags. So we still do use some 2 quart bags if we have a bigger item that we don't want to crush up. But mostly we use the 1 quart bag. Now, everybody's going to be different. It depends on what your purpose is and how you plan on using them. So for us, currently, this works perfectly. But 4 years ago, 5 years ago, the bigger bags seemed to make the most sense.
Got the oxygen absorbers. I'm using 300cc oxygen absorbers, and they come in a 10-pack. So I'll get these in there, and those are fairly full, but I can shake them down just a little bit still. So it's going to be pretty full. All right, so then close them.
So the bags are pretty full, but if I shake them down just a little bit, they close real well. And each bag has a full pound in it, which would be really good for us for a meal.
All right, so that's my bag count. So started 426 mixed vegetables, 10 pounds, they were frozen. Started out as 4590 grams, ended up as 953 grams. I bagged it in 10 quart bags. Power was 29.16 kilowatt hours. The food cost was $11.30. And at 47 hours 5 minutes, but I should have taken it out at 39 or before that, but the timing didn't work out.
I don't usually open the heat sealer this far when I'm actually heat sealing. I just did that so it's easier to see what's happening. I like to hold it down for a few seconds after it finished sealing to make sure that it has a chance to cool just a little bit.
All right, good seal, right at the top edge. So again, checking the seal, make sure it's smooth across there. And letting it cool for just a couple of seconds. Oops.
After all the bags are closed and sealed, I like to do one more thing that's probably pretty unnecessary. I hope it's unnecessary. I write the gross weight on each bag. Its only purpose is if you have a catastrophic bag failure. So if it gains weight, you know that there's a serious problem with the bags and water or moisture getting in. If you saw one of our older videos, you know we had a problem with some cheap thin bags that we bought when we ran out of bags. We had to rebag all of the ones in the thin bags because moisture was getting in. We had as much as 2 or 3% weight gain with those bags. Most of the food was still just fine, but we did end up throwing out a few of the green beans and some broccoli. And that was after only 2 or 3 years of storage. If they'd been put away for 10, 20 years, I'm sure more of the things would have been bad in those thin bags. Don't cheap out and get bad bags.
With our storage system, I'll put the mixed vegetables in bin 1, where I put the chicken yesterday, and I'll put it on the list and write down the location so that I can find it later. And it really doesn't matter where I put it, as long as I just say where it is. It's real easy to find later. Another thing to consider, if I were using this as a daily pantry kind of thing and not as a bigger storage, I probably wouldn't mix them the same way. I would probably use one bin for my vegetables, one bin for my meats, one bin for my potatoes. And that's kind of how we started because we didn't know where we was going with it. But since we're looking at it more of a long-term thing, I'm not terribly concerned because the worst I'm going to have to do is kind of look in one bin, but I'll already know what's in the bin. Okay, so there's 2 batches worth of stuff in the bin. So we have 2 batches of the freeze-dried in here so far. 14, so we have 24 bags in there. And there's a lot of space. It looks like we'll probably get at least 6 batches, 5, 6 batches, maybe more in one bin. As soon as the freeze dryer is defrosted, we'll get a batch of fruit going. I'm doing peaches, frozen cubed peaches from the Chef store. It's a restaurant supply kind of store. I recommend trying to check out that kind of store because you can usually get bulk items for a pretty decent price. Costco works great too for lots of items.